There's a shift that comes after self-surveillance fades that's easy to miss, because it doesn't arrive as silence. It arrives as less commentary. Life is still happening. Thoughts still arise. Words still form when they're needed. But the constant narration that used to sit underneath everything begins to soften. Not disappear, just loosen. For most of our lives, there's a voice running alongside experience. Commenting, explaining, interpreting. This is happening. That means this. I should feel this way. This will lead to that. We get so used to that voice that we assume it is experience. But it's not. It's a layer on top of it. And when awareness deepens, and trust stabilizes, and self-surveillance dissolves, that layer no longer needs to stay active all the time. I didn't notice this change immediately. It showed up as gaps. Small ones. Moments where something happened and there was no follow-up sentence. No internal summary. No evaluation. Just the moment itself. At first, that felt strange. Almost unfinished. Because the mind likes closure. It likes wrapping experience in language. But nothing was wrong. Nothing was missing. The moment simply ended. And another began. Inner narration is useful. It helps us plan, reflect, communicate. But when it runs continuously, it pulls us slightly out of life. We're always half living, half describing, half experiencing, half commenting. And that split becomes so normal we don't realize how much energy it uses. When narration softens, that energy returns. Not as excitement, not as insight, as presence. You're no longer translating life in real time. You're letting it arrive unfiltered. This doesn't mean the mind goes quiet. Thoughts still come, but they're more situational. They show up when needed and step back when they're not. They're no longer narrating your identity. They're not telling you who you are or where you stand or what this moment means about your life. They're just tools. This stage can feel surprisingly ordinary. You might expect it to feel peaceful or expansive or profound. Instead, it feels normal. You're still you, still human, but there's less internal noise filling the space. You notice sounds more clearly, textures, movement. You respond to what's happening instead of constantly referencing it. And the biggest change is this: you stop needing to understand every moment in order to live it. Understanding becomes optional. Reflection moves downstream. You don't think during the experience nearly as much. You think later, if at all. This is often where people worry. They think, am I becoming dull? Am I less reflective? Am I losing insight? But what's actually happening is integration. Awareness is no longer standing outside life, naming it. It's inside it, living it. When inner narration softens, time feels different. Moments feel less fragmented. You're not constantly jumping ahead or looping back. You're here until you're not, and then you're somewhere else. That simplicity is grounding. You also notice how many thoughts were never necessary. They weren't harmful. They were just extra. Running commentary that didn't add clarity but created distance. When that commentary eases, emotions move more cleanly. You feel something. It moves, passes. There's less storytelling around it. Less meaning-making in the moment. And because of that, less resistance. You're not asking, why am I feeling this? As often. You're just feeling it. And feelings, when they're not narrated, tend to resolve themselves. This stage also changes how you relate to silence. Silence no longer feels empty. Feels complete. Not special. Complete. You're not rushing to fill gaps with thought. You're comfortable letting moments be unfinished. Because you no longer need every experience to connect to a larger story. Life doesn't need to make sense to feel real, and real begins to matter more than meaningful. This doesn't mean you stop thinking about life. It means thinking stops being the center. It becomes one function among many. You still plan, you still remember, you still imagine, but imagination no longer replaces presence. You're not living in commentary about life. You're living life. This is often when people say, I feel quieter inside, not numb, not detached, just quieter. And that quiet isn't something you maintain. It's something that happens when nothing is being forced. You're not trying to silence the mind. You're just not feeding it constantly. This stage can feel like a return, not to who you were before awareness, but to something more basic, like the way experience felt before everything had to be explained, before every moment needed a conclusion, before you narrated yourself into existence. You're still reflective. But reflection is no longer compulsive. You don't need to check in constantly. You trust that what matters will register. And if it doesn't, it wasn't necessary. This brings a sense of ease, not excitement. Ease. You're not carrying every moment forward with you. You're letting life move. This is also where gratitude changes. It's no longer a thought or a practice. It's implicit. You're grateful because you're here, not because you've named it, not because you've framed it, just because you're alive inside the moment. This stage doesn't mean the inner voice is gone forever. It returns when needed, to solve a problem, to communicate something clearly, to reflect later, but it no longer dominates. It no longer narrates your worth. It no longer explains your life to you moment by moment. And that frees something. You're no longer living under commentary. You're living under experience. And experience is lighter, more direct, less exhausting. If you've noticed moments where your mind didn't rush in to explain, if you felt more comfortable with silence, if reflection happens later, softly instead of constantly, you're not losing depth. You're gaining immediacy. This isn't the end of thought. It's the end of unnecessary narration. Life doesn't need to be described to be lived. And you don't need to understand yourself constantly to be real. You're allowed to just be here, breathing, responding, living, unfinished, and honest. If this reflection resonated with you, you're welcome to stay. Liking the video helps it reach others who might need this kind of space right now. And if you feel called to, share it with someone who may be moving through a similar season. There's no pressure to subscribe, but if these reflections help you pause, notice, or feel a little less alone, you can subscribe to continue walking through this together. We're not here to arrive. We're just here to live honestly, unfinished.